حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. I think you gotta press start recording. نحمده ونصلي على رسول النبي الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قال الله تعالى في شان حبيبه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا على سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه صلاة وسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله. Today, of course, is the 11th of Muharram, and last week we were talking about some of the virtues of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And of course, sometimes you have certain incidences within a time period that overwhelms everything else that happened at that time. And if you look at Karbala, that is one of those incidences. Many things happened in Muharram, but when you compare those things, and actually many of those things that happen in Muharram also point towards Karbala, or some aspect of Karbala. Again, when we look at the status of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, if no one knows anything else, if all you know is that this is the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that this is the beloved grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we shouldn't need to know anything else. That should be enough. But unfortunately, for many of us, it's not. So this is also the grandson, one of the grandsons, both of the grandsons, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. for whom Rasulullah said that they are the leaders of the youth of Jannah. They are the leaders of the youth of paradise. So if our objective or if our goal in this life is to please Allah, and Jannah is the place where those who have pleased Allah will be, then we need to follow our leader. For us, we have no guarantees. Whether we'll go to paradise or we'll go to hell. There's no guarantee. And in our minds, we have this concept that, if we do all these good things, then we'll end up in paradise. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reserves the right to reject all of those good things. And when we look at Imam Hussein al-Islam, this is someone who is guaranteed paradise, and not just any position in paradise, but being a leader in paradise. This is the one who has been certified by none other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the leader of paradise, or as a leader of those who will enter paradise. So if we wish to be in that company in the hereafter, then we need to make ourselves part of that company in this world. So if we can't be with him physically, then we need to be with him spiritually. Our loyalty, our admiration, and above all, our love should be with him. And so that anyone who opposes him, then we should also oppose him. There's a saying in the comic world that with great power comes great responsibility, which is true. If somebody is placed in a certain position of authority, then the responsibilities also increase. And we see that even in the worldly aspects of things. The responsibilities of a common worker in a factory are not the same as those who are managing the factory. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created this world as a reflection of what is to come, so it makes it easier for us to understand these things. Otherwise, he could have made the two worlds completely separate. But he did this for our good, so that we have some comprehension of what is to come. Makes it easier to understand what we need to do. And so if Imam Hussein al-Islam is given this responsibility, or this position rather, that he is the leader of the youth of Jannah, then we know that his position, his status, his responsibilities are also great, and what he's going to do will also be great, according to that status. So when we look at this, even what we talked a little bit about last week, when we talked about Imam Hussein al-Islam sitting on the back of Rasulullah when Rasulullah is in sajda. I mean, this is something that, for the Muslims, for most Muslims, this is common knowledge, that he sat on the back of his grandfather as Rasulullah is making sajda, leading the salat. And Rasulullah lengthens the salat, the sajda. what's not common knowledge for most of us, or what we don't ponder over or don't know. One is that even if you look, because you have these narrations, you look at Bukhari and Muslim, you have certain narrations that are sort of general. Then you have to look the shara as to the explanations, and then you find other narrations that give you more detail as to what that narration, what other things were associated with that incident. So if we look at this narration where Imam Hussein al-Islam is sitting on the back of his grandfather, and Rasulullah ﷺ lengthens the salat. And when he was asked later why he lay, he said, I did not want to disturb Hussein. I wanted his desires to be fulfilled. I mean, it was lengthened to such an extent that the companions of Rasulullah, several of them, they got up from the sajda and looked as to what's going on, because in their minds they're thinking that maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called him back. One interesting point even here, their getting up from the sajda and looking did not break their salat. If a regular imam is leading the salat and somebody, starts wondering why is he making it so long, and he gets up from the sajda and says, something's going on, it breaks his salat. Yet those praying behind the Rasulullah, because of their intention, because their focus did not go away. Rasulullah said, pray as you see me pray. Make salat like the way you see me make salat. So what are they doing? They're looking at Rasulullah. It doesn't break their salat. So none of them had to say, oh, we got to start our salat over again. No. Salat continued. But the lesser known detail about this is that if you ask those companions how many tasbih did they make, normally when the Rasulullah has ordered the imam that when he leaves the salat, don't lengthen the sajda or the ruku or any aspect of the salat to such an extent that you become a burden on those following you. 3, 5, 7. Don't really go beyond this. And yet the companions, they said that they counted 72 Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Not 71 and not 73. 72. And if you think about that, how many people did Imam Hussein al-Islam leave with when he left Makkah to go towards Kufa? 72. So when the quota was full, he got off. Quota's full, that's all he needs, he's fine, he's good to go. Like when we talked about Umar radiallahu anhu, when Umar radiallahu anhu becomes Muslim, when he accepted Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed verse 64 of Surah Anfal. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu, hasbukallah wa man ittaba'aka minal mu'mineen. That, O Prophet, enough for you is Allah and those who follow you from amongst the believers. These are enough for you. If anyone else comes in, it's like, it's simply added gravy. And at that time, according to most scholars, there were 40. Umar radiallahu anhu was the 40th. Allah subhanahu says, enough. Imam Hussein al-Islam, 72. He said, that's enough. Time to go. But the more interesting aspect of this is that Rasulullah ﷺ is in the state of salat. Not just salat, but he is leading the jamaat. He is the imam of the jamaat. And he changes the structure of the salat so that Imam Hussein al-Islam will not be disturbed. And yet when we look at what happened in Karbala, those who claim to be the followers of Rasulullah did not even have the decency that they should not disturb Hussein al-Islam in the state of salat, when Hussein is in salat. Rasulullah ﷺ in the state of salat did not disturb Hussein when Hussein is out of salat. And yet all of these forces of Yazid, all of whom claim to say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all of them in their salat are saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, send your blessings upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and on the family of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So those making these declarations with their tongue did not have the decency that they should not disturb him in the state of salat. When we look at the time that Imam Hussein al-Islam is martyred, that morning on the day of Ashura, on the 10th of Muharram, he led those with him in Fajr. And then somewhere later that morning, mid-morning or so, the fighting starts. And initially those friends who had come with Imam Hussein al-Islam, they go out as a group. What are 25, 26 people going to do against 22,000? And eventually, not very long, they're all martyred. Imam Hussein al-Islam rides forward and he makes, he'd given many khutbah or sermons before them, before these forces over the past few days. Now he comes and delivers one more. And he says, is there anyone from that will help the family of Rasulullah ﷺ in their hour of need? And this is when Hur, along with his sons, comes riding over. Ask forgiveness from Imam Hussein al-Islam and ask him that, everything that I was the wretched one who came against you the first. So now if I give my life for you, will Allah forgive me? And Imam Hussein al-Islam gives him the guarantee that on the day of judgment, he says, you have come to me at the time when I have nothing to offer you. The hospitality of Quraysh was famous, but the hospitality of Banu Hashim was something totally different. He says, you have come to me at a time when I have nothing to offer you. And so on the day of judgment, I will have you drink first from the hawd of my grandfather, from the hawd of Kauthar, the pool of Kauthar. After which whoever drinks from that will not be thirsty again. So I'll have you drink first before I drink. So then Hur, along with his sons, also falls amongst the martyrs. Of course, he wasn't hungry and thirsty for 3 days like all the rest of them had been. So he was able to take out a few more. But still, what are a handful, what's even 100 or a couple of hundred people going to do against 22,000? And if someone wants to argue, they want 22,000, the minimum anybody talks about are at least 5,000. What's 5,000 versus 72? Still. Now the family starts coming out. One by one. The brothers of Imam Hussein al-Islam, the sons of Ali, radiallahu anhu. Same father, different mothers. They come, one by one, and they're martyred. Imam Hussein al-Islam, he rides out, he picks them up, brings them back to the tents. Next one, next one. Then the sons or the nephews of Imam Hussein al-Islam, the sons of Imam Hassan al-Salam, the four of them who were there with him one by one. And one by one, Imam Hussein al-Islam rides out, picks up their blessed bodies and brings them back. His other nephews, the sons of his sister, who were very young at that time. At the most, they were in their teens, early teens. And these aren't people who are going to fight, because, they're being forced to fight. These are people who are eagerly giving their lives to protect the honor and the blood of Imam Hussein. And when he tries to stop any of them, they say, don't refuse us this privilege. And many of them also say that if we don't, if we are prevented from this privilege, then what face will we show to Rasulullah? When the 6-month-old son, Ali Aswar, when he's martyred, while he's in the hands of Imam Hussein, of his father, Imam Hussein al-Islam, and then an arrow goes through his neck and the blood pours down onto his father's beard. He's the only one that he brought back and he buried him. Finally, after the 3 sons of Imam Hussein al-Islam are also martyred and everyone is gone and there's no one, well, the 2 sons that were there, 3 sons that were there, Imam Zain al-Abidin was ill, real high fever to the extent so weak that he could not even stand. Even he wanted to go and fight. But for him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him to continue the mission later on. So even afterwards, when Shimr wanted to kill him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed the situation to where they could not kill him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have changed the situation where they could not kill Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He could have caused it to rain. He could have caused Mana and Salwa to come down like he did for Bani Israel. He could have done all of these things. But he didn't. For us to try to understand the status of Hussein. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ, glad tidings to those who are patient. He's giving us an example of true patience. We think, I fasted all day and I didn't fight with anybody today, so I've been patient. We have no concept of patience, of real patience. If we want to see true patience, then we see Imam Hussein al-Islam and the family of Imam Hussein al-Islam. Inna Allaha ma'as sabirin. Allah is with those who are patient. Who is Allah with? That we know. Who is Allah guaranteed to be with? Other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and those connected to him. When the angel comes down, when the angel of rain came down and started telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about what is going to happen in Karbala, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is weeping, tears are flowing, and he says, I can't help this. This is before this even happens. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could have simply asked, Allah, remove this test from Hussein. But he did not. He said, oh Allah, give them patience. Just like, when someone's kid is in school, and the kid tells the parents, oh, I got a test tomorrow. Parents don't say, oh, well, let's pray that the test get canceled. No. The good parents, they pray, oh Allah, make him pass this test. When Rasulullah ﷺ tells his daughter, the mother of Imam Hussein al-Islam, the leader of the women of Jannah, Bibi Fatima salamullah alayha, and when he tells his son-in-law and his cousin and his brother, Sayyidina Ali, karamallahu wajh, neither one of them says, oh Allah, remove this from him. No, they say, oh Allah, make him patient when this happens. Give him sabr. He is the example of patience, of true patience. He is fulfilling the responsibility of the position that he has been given by Allah. He is upholding the honor of his name that was given to him by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when he buries Imam Ali Asghar, and then he comes out and he fights, he starts fighting himself. And he's riding the mule of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is 50 years later. Mule's lifespan normally is not that long, not 50 years. Even the goat that Rasulullah ﷺ placed his blessed hand on and she started giving milk, the goat of Ma'bad radiallahu anha, she lived decades after that. He rides out. They realize after several of them have been cut to pieces by him, that they cannot fight him. So they start shooting arrows. And when he realizes, he led Fajr, the whole group, and then he led Dhuhr, Salat al-Khawf, with the family. And now it's the time for Asr. So he gets off of his horse. And in the condition of Salat, of Asr, and in the condition of Sajda, because he starts making his Salat. And this is when they come, and Shimr comes and he cuts his head, his blessed head, as he's saying Allahu Akbar. Shimr is saying Allahu Akbar as he's doing this. Shimr is not a nobody. He's a scholar among them. He used to lead Fajr Salat in the masjid. He didn't just make Salat, he led it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already mentioned this in the Quran. And he says, wal asr. What is the need to swear by asr? Innal insana lafi khusr. Verily, truly, mankind is destroyed. He is lost. You know, when you draw an analogy to something, you don't need to specify all of the things. When I say, oh, you know, I don't have to say that he is very brave like a lion. I can simply say he's a lion and everybody understands what I mean. It's just language. If I look at the statement of wal asr, and if I want to extend it out, like if I say, oh, he's a lion, or if I want to extend it out, say, oh, he's brave like a lion. So if I want to extend it out, what does it mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I swear by the time that Hussein will be martyred. Allah is swearing by the time that they will martyr Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that all of them are destroyed. All of mankind, for this action is destroyed. Then he gives the exception. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Again, sabr. Except those who have iman, who love Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam above everything else. And therefore they love those who are loved by Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they have iman, and then they act upon that iman. Not simply lip service, but now they act upon it. And they follow the path of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And they stand up for the truth against falsehood and against all these oppressive leaders. And then they are patient with whatever comes. Time's up. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us. Inshallah, I'll stop here today. We'll continue next week. It's a subject that never ends. So we'll continue next week, inshallah, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill our hearts with His true love and the true love of His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.